American Psycho, the year 2000's film about a Wall Street prince whose designer suits hide a violent and vicious monster.
In the film, Patrick Bateman is an extreme narcissist fueled by ego and greed. He wants the world to see him as the epitome of material success. It's everything to him.
While reviews are mixed, all critics seem to agree that Christian Bale's performance as iconic Patrick Bateman perfectly encapsulates the lead character's obsession with vanity, power, and murder.
In the film, Patrick Bateman's obsessive need to be the ultimate alpha male drives him to kill anyone who even questions his superiority. Most of his victims are prostitutes, but he'll also kill any man who questions his stature.
While Patrick Bateman is a fictional character, in Santa Barbara, a real-life egotistical monster is also hiding behind a pair of designer clothes and expensive sunglasses.
There's me. All my fabulousness. Oh yeah. I dress nice. I'm sophisticated and magnificent.
But there's one problem. No one else seems to realize how great Elliot Rodger thinks he is.
The girls are not sexually attracted to me. There's a major problem with that. That's a problem that I intend to rectify.
This real-life American Psycho's need to be seen as a lady killer will drive him to kill those he feels deserve his vicious wrath.
He wanted to kill what he hated. Elliot Rodger hated people being happy. His mission was to wipe out beauty and love and sex and relationships.
Like Patrick Bateman's iconic first-person voiceover, Elliot Rodger also narrates his journey into madness in an over 107,000-word manifesto.
One of the most powerful elements of this movie, the storytelling aspect, is Patrick Bateman's voiceover in the film. We know exactly what he's thinking in his warped head.
And Elliot's inner dialogue, told through his manifesto, is just as disturbing.
This is the story of how I, Elliot Rodger, came to be. This is the story of my entire life. It is a dark story of sadness, anger, and hatred. This tragedy did not have to happen. I didn't want things to run out this way, but humanity forced my hand, and this story will explain why.
Elliot's twisted story begins as a shy kid living in Los Angeles.
Elliot Rodger was mixed race. His mother was Asian, his father was English.
Even from an early age, Elliot never quite fit in with his peers.
Elliot Rodger didn't have friends growing up. He didn't really interact very much with his peers at all. He was socially awkward. He was a loner. He was a kid who played by himself.
Why don't you just go play over there? Yeah, just go play over there.
Right, yeah.
In Elliot's own words, he describes this time in his life.
At school, there were always the cool kids who seemed more admirable than everyone else. The way they looked, dressed, and acted made them cooler.
He felt like an outsider, and part of that, and we may never know to what degree part of that, was due to sensitivity about being mixed race.
Adding to Elliot's insecurities, he is also coping with his parents' separation, which he takes extremely hard.
Elliot Rodger's parents divorced, and that's when his world turned upside down.
It was the event in his life that really changed it for the worst.
Making matters even worse, his father remarries shortly after the divorce.
Elliot. Elliot, we talked about this the other night. Can you please put the laptop away so we can have breakfast?
Of course, any stepmother is a difficult thing, and it wasn't a healthy, warm relationship. He was resentful of her.
Hey, come on. I don't want you watching whatever you're watching.
Hey! You don't know what I'm doing.
Elliot, put that computer away now.
You think you're my mother, don't you? You know nothing about me or my family, so don't you dare tell me what to do.
Elliot, what are you doing? Hey. Hey. How many times have I told you not to speak to your mother like that?
She is not my mother.
That's it. If you're gonna be like that, I want you out of this house. Right now!
Life at home with his mother is slightly better, and there's one bright spot in Elliot's troubled life: his mother's connections to some of Hollywood's elite.
His mother worked in Hollywood, so he had, from an early age, access to all of these Hollywood parties. Certainly, he found himself in an environment that was very superficial.
He would go to red carpet events, and he really seemed to soak that up.
He was invited to Star Wars premieres, and that was a big deal to him, but it was almost cruel in that it was just a tease for him.
Hey, have you guys seen my white shirt?
You know the car comes in 20 minutes.
You think I don't know? That's why I'm trying to find my white shirt.
Elliot, you don't need that shirt. You can wear the one from, I think it was 2 weeks ago, at that other premiere.
I can't wear the same thing. It's unprofessional.
Seriously, we've got to get going. Go get dressed.
He lived on the edge of the haves, but he was kind of on the have-not side, partly because of his family being divorced. It lowered his standard of living.
Between being on the sideline of Hollywood glamour and having no real friends at school, Elliot copes by losing himself in violent video games.
Elliot, video games again? It's too much screen time. Elliot, you need to get out. You need to call some friends and meet people and talk to people.
Please.
He would get on his computer and he would spend hours and hours living in that world. Of course, in video games, you don't really interact with people. And so it was perfect for him.
So how was German today?
His social insecurities only intensify once Elliot hits puberty and begins noticing girls.
Once he started to notice girls, more specifically, once he started to notice that girls weren't noticing him.
Hey.
Did you see that guy?
He began to feel that very deeply and very directly.
Oh yeah, that guy's so weird.
I mean, he's completely staring at us.
Looking at us.
That was very painful for him.
He would get upset because girls wouldn't talk to him, but he didn't talk to them.
But there is one place where he can experience his sexual fantasies.
Discovering porn for Elliot, it became for him a literal visual demonstration of everything that the world was denying to him.
But unlike other boys his age, Elliot takes this pain of rejection and turns it into anger.
He was jealous of people who were able to talk to girls, other guys who were able to have sex.
After several years of drifting through high school, Elliot Rodger graduates in 2010, lonely and with no real plans for the future.
Peter, I'm really concerned about Elliot. He's got no direction in life. He's got no friends. He just sits around the house all day. He needs to go to college, and I need you to convince him.
Here Elliot was, living in his mom's apartment, not really doing anything. High school's done. What do you do with him?
I've talked to him. He won't listen to me.
What would I listen about?
Elliot, I'm done talking with you. You can talk to your dad.
Hello, Father. Dad, I do not want to go to that college. Dad, you don't understand, okay? There's not a problem, and I'm fine. Obviously, I don't get a choice in this.
Elliot, you are going to college.
I don't want to!
You don't have a choice. You need to.
Mommy, you don't know anything about me!
I know that you have no direction in life right now and you have no friends. This will be a good
Stop acting like you know me. Neither of you know me!
So they came up with a plan to send him off to school at Santa Barbara Community College. And they figured, send him off there, he'll be independent, he'll overcome his social awkwardness, and he'll have to grow. You know, you put him into the situation, you put a fish into the water, he'll swim.
Elliot eventually warms to the idea. He hopes college life will be a new beginning for him.
Elliot considered going to Santa Barbara as his last chance to be successful in finding happiness, love, sex, to find a girl who would like him, and to turn his life around.
In Santa Barbara, Elliot Rodger will reinvent himself, but not as a popular ladies' man. Instead, he will become a serial killer, just like in the film American Psycho. In the film American Psycho, Patrick Bateman, played by Christian Bale, believes he's entitled to everything he desires: women, wealth, and power. The same is true for Elliot Rodger. He's hoping college will finally give him the happiness he believes he deserves.
I think Elliot thought going to college would be the new start he was looking for. He seems to have expected the world, and especially sex, to be handed to him on a plate as soon as he arrived.
So in college, Elliot goes about creating the persona he believes the ladies will find irresistible.
Elliot tries to change his image. He tries to exercise more, buys new clothes.
And, you know, he had the Gucci glasses. His mother gave him a black BMW so he could be more popular. He looked pretty good for a young college kid.
In American Psycho, Patrick Bateman's appearance equals his self-worth. He puts on a face mask for his skin, he does push-ups and sit-ups. He does everything he can to be this ultimate god. He firmly believes that how you look and dress embodies American success.
And like Patrick Bateman in American Psycho, Elliot believes he's made himself into the perfect guy. All that's missing is a girlfriend.
He felt he was stylish and he had that car, and that's all it would take to find a girlfriend, or to find at least a girl who would have sex with him and accept him.
Despite his new persona,
Hello, ladies. Do you mind if I sit with you?
Elliot Rodger still can't seem to get a date.
You know, you are the sexiest Aryan girl I have seen in this school.
Ew, no.
I love your blonde hair.
Nothing went right for Elliot when he was trying to find a girlfriend, because he didn't know how. He didn't have the ability to take part in a conversation.
Elliot Rodgers really thought that women should be throwing themselves at him. He thought he was attractive and had it all. He didn't understand why he wasn't popular.
So here's the interesting thing about American Psycho and Elliot Rodger is that you can totally see how Rodger would see himself as Patrick Bateman, except that Patrick Bateman had sex and Elliot Rodger did not.
Elliot begins to vent his frustration online and in self-shot videos.
I'm 22 years old, and I've never had a girlfriend. I'm still a virgin. I've never had the pleasure of having sex with a girl, sleeping with a girl. And that's just such an injustice because I'm so magnificent. I deserve girls much more than all those slobs I see at my college who are somehow able to walk around with beautiful girls. And that pisses me off because I should be the one with the girls.
Elliot's message was that the world has been unfair to him, that he's magnificent. Look at me, I'm so wonderful, I'm so handsome, and I'm so smart. Why do these stupid girls choose him and not me? He wanted to be loved, but if he couldn't be loved, he didn't want anybody to enjoy love.
Elliot believes if it's not his looks, it has to be something else.
Elliot came to the conclusion that maybe he could get his happiness with money. He could afford to attract beautiful women, and they would love him for his money. So he concentrated on trying to attract wealth through the means of buying lottery tickets.
If he's rich, then certainly the girls will have to want him. In the film, Patrick Bateman seems to have everything money can buy. It's part of what makes him feel important.
In real life, Elliot becomes convinced that if he becomes wealthy, women will flock to him. So he's either got to become Mark Zuckerberg or win the lotto. Since the lottery requires absolutely no effort, he becomes obsessed.
And when he fails to win the lottery, his anger intensifies.
This is not a dumb guy, but I think it's very illuminating quite how much he believes wholeheartedly that he is going to win the lottery. It shows just how much he thinks the world ought to run as if designed for him.
Elliot begins lashing out on those who have what he desperately wants.
Keep the change.
What he feels he deserves.
Elliot hated couples. Anyone else who was happier than him, he found very offensive.
Elliot was in a coffee shop, and he saw a couple, as he said, passionately kissing. And he was boiling over with anger and jealousy.
I wanted to do horrible things to that couple. I wanted to inflict pain on all young couples. It was around this point in my life that I realized I was capable of doing such things.
What'd you do that for?
Why did you just do that?
And so he threw his coffee on the couple.
Hot coffee may be his first weapon of choice, but it isn't his last.
November 2012. After not winning the lottery, he bought his first pistol. A Glock.
When he got that Glock, he wrote how it made him feel like an alpha male, and it changed him in some way.
A few weeks later, he bought a second gun, a gun he said is more efficient. Eventually, he bought 3 guns, hundreds of rounds of ammunition.
He revels in the sense of power he has holding the guns, and it gives him an idea. What if he made everyone pay for his perceived injustice?
I desire girls. I'm sexually attracted to girls. But girls are not sexually attracted to me. There's a major problem with that.
Elliot Rodger had never been kissed, had never had a sexual relationship, and he wanted revenge.
That's a problem that I intend to rectify. It's an injustice that needs to be dealt with.
Jealousy, insecurity, and entitlement. The emotions that drive American Psycho's lead character, Patrick Bateman, portrayed by Christian Bale, to kill in the most horrific ways.
In the movie, Patrick Bateman's killing spree trigger is pulled by that moment, sitting around the boardroom table when all the guys take out their business cards. The business card scene is ingenious. In Bateman's mind, everything about you can be summed up in this 3.5 by 2-inch card. If it's inferior, so are you.
This feeling of Bateman's business card envy manifests itself as a rage and builds over the course of the film. It's the same irrational rage and envy that builds within Elliot Rodger's mind.
Elliot Rodgers really thought that women should be throwing themselves at him. He thought he was attractive and had it all.
Around this same time, Elliot Rodger gets 2 new unsuspecting roommates who only add fuel to his twisted fire.
Hey, I'm missing a few beers. Do you know where they could be?
No, I haven't seen them in.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
They were these Asian students. He was half Asian, and he really resented being half Asian, as it turned out. And he was somewhat jealous of them.
Look, you cannot take from me
Okay,
just because of your problems.
What problem?
Okay? I know it's hard not having as much money, but to steal from me is not okay, and I want them back right now.
Bro, the poor thing is getting old.
You stole from me!
I didn't steal from you.
Yes, you did. Where are they? Show me where they are.
He called them nerds and he hated them.
Look, you cannot take from me
Okay, I didn't
just
take
because of your problems.
At least I'm not an asshole. I'm just trying to watch TV, man. Just chill out.
I'm expecting those beers back.
I didn't take your beers, man.
And there's something else he resents about his 2 new roommates.
Hey! Knock it off! Stop! Hey!
Elliot didn't understand why his Asian roommate had a girlfriend. I mean, Elliot was so much better looking, he was so much smarter, but yet she was choosing him. Why do girls do that, he thought.
Did you have a good night?
Yeah.
Sounded like it.
Yeah.
Angry and resentful of his life, Elliot Rodger decides to give it one more try at losing his virginity. It is the only thing that will stop him from acting on his violent fantasies.
He said, this is my last chance. I'm gonna make one last chance to find a girlfriend.
Elliot dresses to the nines and heads over to a sorority party on campus.
So Elliot goes to this party. He gets there, and he's drunk.
He was getting very upset about the lack of attention from the girls.
He gets kicked out of the party.
What the hell, man?
They beat him around a bit. He goes home, and I think that's the moment when what he's going to do really cements itself in his mind.
Elliot begins writing his epic Manifesto.
He started writing this incredibly long, 100,000 word plus story of his life.
It was only when I first moved to Santa Barbara that I started considering the possibility of having to carry out a violent act of revenge as the final solution to dealing with all of the injustices I've had to face at the hands of women in society. I named it the Day of Retribution. It would be a day in which I exact my ultimate retribution and revenge on all of the hedonistic scum who enjoyed lives of pleasure that they don't deserve. If I can't have it, I will destroy it.
Compare that with what Patrick Bateman says in American Psycho. I want my pain to be inflicted on others. I want no one to escape.
Two American psychos narrating their own dark journey into madness. Elliot calls his story My Twisted World.
The irony here is that he really could write. The Manifesto was a lot of writing. Not many mass murderers leave an ink trail like that.
And it's not just an ink trail Elliot creates. He begins posting several of his YouTube videos, echoing the injustice he feels.
This world, it's so twisted. It's so cruel.
From what he said on those videos, he thought that being a virgin at 22 was such a flaw. When you look at him looking at himself in those videos, he didn't understand why he wasn't popular.
His mother, who stumbles on them online, fears he may be suicidal.
His mother sees these and informs the police. And they come around to do a welfare check.
Elliot knows this unexpected visit could ruin his murderous plans.
We're looking for Elliot Rodgers. Is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Hey, how you doing? Your mom gave us a call. Just coming to check and see how you're doing.
Well, I'm doing fine. Why?
You know, apparently you posted some things on the internet, raised some flags with them.
And for 10, 15 minutes, he's talking to them. And he's saying, you know, I'm fine. I'm not going to kill myself. Thank you. But inside he was thinking, I hope they don't insist on looking in my bedroom, because if they do, they'll find that stash of ammunition and they'll find my 3 guns.
Okay, I posted some vlogs of me talking about college. My mother's a worrywart. There's really nothing to be concerned about beyond playing a little bit too much Call of Duty and...
Okay, so you're not going to do any physical harm to yourself or anything of that nature?
No, not at all. I don't know what would have given anybody that idea. Everything's good. Everything's great.
All right, well, you know, if we're good to go here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for checking on me.
All right, have a good day.
You too.
We see in American Psycho, Patrick Bateman is very good at hiding the monster inside of him. In fact, when he does confess, his lawyer doesn't even believe him.
Same is true for Elliot Rodger, who manages to convince the officers nothing is out of the ordinary.
In fairness to the police officers, it's not their job to do psychological assessments, but apparently he was cool enough to assure them that there's no immediate harm, which is what they were concerned about.
Then, on May 23rd, 2014, just about a month after his close call with police, Elliot decides it's time to exact his revenge. Starting with the roommates he despises.
You stole from me!
At least I'm not an asshole.
Elliot plans this day down to the finest details. He knows exactly when his roommates are coming home. He knows exactly where he's going to go.
His roommates have no idea the monster that is waiting for them inside their apartment.
Elliot Rodgers wanted to kill them one by one. He wiped the blood off the walls of his apartment and then seemed to entrap the next person that walked in, which was a friend of his roommates. I don't know how no one heard those murders. He methodically killed both of his roommates and one of their best friends. One of them still had a backpack on when he was murdered.
These grisly murders remind me of the scenes where Patrick Bateman lures his victims in and kills them with an axe. He's wearing a raincoat to protect his clothing, and he methodically cleans up the scene.
Elliot's first victims are his two roommates, 20-year-old James Hong, 20-year-old David Wang, and their friend, 19-year-old George Chen.
Apparently, right after stabbing to death 3 people in the apartment, Elliot uploaded a series of videos, and he sent his mom and the others his story, My Twisted World, and he gets in his BMW.
Part 2 of his plan was to attack sorority girls, who he saw as both the central objects of his desire and the objects of his torture, the objects that he could never possess.
In the dark of night, Elliot pulls up to a sorority house with plans to slaughter every woman inside. But once again, Elliot Rodger is about to be denied what he desires most.
You knocked on the door, someone could see someone through, I think, a peephole. They refused to let him in.
And he isn't about to take this final rejection lightly. In American Psycho, Patrick Bateman's extreme narcissism, feelings of superiority, and sense of entitlement drive him to murder his business colleagues, girlfriends, and prostitutes.
Bateman murders because he believes he deserves the best business cards, the best clients, and the best seats at the best restaurants. In real life, Elliot Rodger believes he deserves women to fall at his feet.
Elliot's message was that the world has been unfair to him, that he's magnificent and he's awesome, but what is owed to him was denied him.
I will not let this fly. It's an injustice that needs to be dealt with.
He wanted to be loved, but if he couldn't be loved, he didn't want anybody to enjoy love.
May 23, 2014, he begins his day of retribution by stabbing to death his two roommates and their friend. But that is only the first step of his horrific plan.
The roommates are dead. He sent his mom and the others his story, My Twisted World, and he gets in his BMW, his beloved BMW. He drives to a sorority house.
Elliot Rodgers wanted to kill sorority girls. In his mad mind, I think Elliot Rodger thought they deserved to die because they weren't his girlfriends. And he seemed to only want these sorority girls because he considered them the most beautiful on campus.
Elliot walks to the sorority house with guns in hand.
Elliot Rodger pounded on that door, and the young women were in there and they didn't let him inside.
When none of the members of the Alpha Phi sorority open the door, he decides to walk away. and he's walking down the sidewalk back in the direction of his car. He sees some young ladies walking up.
I am so hungry right now. Who is that?
So he shoots them. And 2 of them died, 1 of them was wounded.
Elliot's second set of victims are 19-year-old Veronica Weiss and 22-year-old Katie Cooper, who were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. A third girl ultimately survives the attack.
When the shooting began, the 911 calls started coming into the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department. Multiple gunshots fired on the sidewalk at the sorority house. And that's when the police started to react. By that time, he got in his BMW and sped away.
Santa Barbara law enforcement have no idea that Elliot Rodger's killing spree is only just getting started.
Elliot Rodger went to the Ivy Deli, someplace he was a familiar face at that deli.
In this deli are students unaware of the horror coming for them.
That's what you want? All right, sure.
He actually got out of his car and fired into the deli. Most of them were able to find cover behind the counter or behind shelves. But there was one young man, a 20-year-old, who was fatally wounded and bled to death.
Elliot Rodger has just claimed the life of his 6th victim, Chris Martinez.
Elliot starts driving down streets where young people are constantly walking in the middle of the street.
He's driving at breakneck speed. People are diving out the way, some successfully, some not successfully. He hits another person directly. Several more people get hit with bullets. He's just careening down the street.
He's shooting. Police are on to him by then.
The police chase is on, but Elliot Rodger's reign of terror isn't over yet. On May 23, 2014, 22-year-old Santa Barbara college student and real-life American psycho Elliot Rodger is enacting his day of retribution.
Elliot pressed send on his My Twisted World document at 9:17. And then he left, got into his BMW, and went to start his killing spree with his guns.
Having no idea the extent of the horror their son has planned, Elliot's parents panic when they receive the email.
As soon as Elliot Rodger's parents got the email, they knew something was wrong, and they got in a car and they were driving to Santa Barbara.
Over the radio, they hear there's a killing spree going on, unaware it's their son behind the murders.
After the shooting at the Delicatessen, Elliot got back into his car and was speeding away. But by this time, sheriff's deputies were closing in.
So at this point, everything's happening very fast. The police know what the car looks like. A chase ensues for a while. During the gun battle with deputies, Elliot's wounded in his left leg. It's unclear whether he loses control of the car at this point, or whether he intentionally then hits another male cyclist and crashes the car.
Police have no idea if Elliot will come out of his BMW shooting.
Officers approach the crashed car with extreme caution.
I'm going in.
Find Elliot dead in the driver's seat, room a self-inflicted gunshot to the head.
22-year-old Elliot Rodger's night of terror is over.
At the end of the movie, mass murderer Patrick Bateman seems to get away with it. He confesses, nobody believes him. He starts to question himself. Did I really do this? Did I dream it up?
But Elliot's devastation is very, very real. In the end, he kills 6 people and injures 13 others.
The rampage was so quick and so deadly. It began with Elliot Rodger using his apartment as a death chamber, and it ended with him taking his own life. It was the worst thing that ever happened outside of UCSB. It's going to impact those college students for years to come.
Shortly after police discover Elliot's body, his parents, along with the rest of the world, learn the true extent of monster hiding behind the American Psycho facade.
It was traumatic for our newsroom. I anchored the night Osama bin Laden was killed. I anchored the night, the wall came down in Germany. But this was the night like no other. He was scary. His videos were frightening. We watched them from the set while we were reporting live, and it was just so disturbing. And then to think that someone who looked so harmless could be so violent.
On a number of these tragedies that I've covered, it takes us several days or weeks or never to understand what happened. Now we can look at Elliot Rodger's videos, we can read My Twisted World, and we have a lot of the context of what happened. And so that's one of the things that's different about what happened.
Like Christian Bale's iconic character, Patrick Bateman, looks can be deceiving, but in this case, Elliot Rodger and his horrific acts were frighteningly real.
One of the really, really hard parts about this story that is very similar to so many of these other shootings is that it takes these young lives, these young men who were his roommates, who died first, were smart, ambitious young men. They had plans for the future. The girls who were shot to death on the sidewalk out in front of the sorority house are described as, beautiful, caring people. And Chris Martinez, he wanted to be a lawyer, just like his father.
I will make them all suffer for rejecting me.
Their promising lives tragically cut short from a disturbed, real-life American Psycho.